Hello, afternoon, small biz pals. Oh, Insta's changed how they do their lives a little bit, and it's asking for titles and all sorts. That threw me off a little bit. Just gonna wait for oh, hang on. I'm also just putting in my charger just in case, because you never know. Hiya. Thanks for joining. I'm just waiting for Nikki to join and then I can invite her on the live. Hope you're all well this afternoon. Hope you're doing okay. Is it this afternoon yet? Oh, nearly. I'm half an hour early. Half an hour early on the old good arvos. Oh dear. So, can you see me all okay? All good? Hi. Thanks for joining. Hi Ruth. Hi Kat. How you doing? I'm just waiting for the lovely Nikki to join, and then I can add her into the live, which I'm hoping is all gonna go okay. There we go. Now, there we go. Yes. Fingers crossed this is gonna work. Oh my God. Oh, we're connected. Oh, this is... Hiya!
Hello.
Hello, love.
It keeps you waiting, doesn't it? That Instagram, it's like, are you gonna let me in?
I know. I was a bit
What's gonna happen?
I know. I was really on tenterhooks. And also, when I first went to go live, it was asking me, like, it's got this thing on the side. It's like title and all of this. And I was like, wasn't prepared for this luck. Adding extra admin in.
Technological roller coaster. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for doing this. And also, you're the first ones. You are kicking off the back to school moments.
Wow. Okay. No pressure.
No pressure. You're fabulous. No, thank you so much for doing this with me, Nikki. It really, really does mean a lot, because especially with the when I approached you about this and the topic that I wanted to talk to you about, I know quite a bit anyway from obviously knowing you and following and being part of the experience as well. But I just can't wait to talk to you about launching a podcast. Woo-hoo!
Oh, I know.
Woo! So first of all, let's do an introduction of you from you. So tell everybody who you are, where you come from, bit of Scylla.
Hey, I know. Oh my God, blind date. Those are the days. Well, I'm Nikki. So I do lots of things. I'm that portfolio career. I'm a trained actor. I moved to London 20 years ago around this time. So I went to drama school for 3 years. And then since have created this weird income pie of acting, coaching, writing, speaking, podcasting. So yeah, just helping other people to build personal brands, really, because that's sort of how I get my own work, of figuring out how to market myself, what to do, how to monetize my services, and that's what I do with other people. What else? So I'm originally from Lincolnshire, but I live in London and have done for 20 years. I've got 2 small children who are 4 and 1. My boy starts school in a couple of weeks.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's busy.
It is busy. I love as well how you called it a pie as well at the start. I love that.
Yeah, a pie, a cake, a quiche. You can make it your own. But yeah, and certainly I think one thing to add to that is the pie looks very different from month to month, from year to year. So for example, like my live speaking stuff is not happening a lot at the moment because people are not going out and about, but my online speaking stuff is generating a lot of income. And then equally, some of the acting stuff is just starting to come forward a little bit. So I think it changes a lot in small business, especially as a personal brand, of what that looks like. Like last year when I had my daughter, I was doing different things, and the online courses were selling a lot more. So yeah, that's another conversation for another time.
Absolutely. Yeah, God, we could totally dive into the pie. Absolutely. But yeah, the reason obviously I wanted to talk to you about the Launch Your Own podcast is because you have launched your own podcast, an amazing, successful podcast. So I wanted to ask you, what made you want to launch a podcast? What made you want to do that as part of your, as part of your, as part of what you do and part of your personal brand?
Yeah, I'm just laughing at Vanessa.
I know. I
really wants a pie now. I'm
Funny enough, I'm having pie tonight for tea.
Yeah, there's one in the fridge actually, so I need to get on with that. Okay, so why did I want to launch it? Well, it came firstly from something that I was missing. So when I had my son in 2015, he was not one of those like, I just sleep 7 till 7 and you just can put me in your cot in the cot and I'll be fine. I wasn't that sleeper either. Matty, my partner, wasn't either. So I spent a lot of time wandering around the park, like trying to get him to sleep. But then I kind of got inspired about my business. And all I was hearing were these very heavy, like, just get up at 4, have a protein shake, hustle harder, you're on fire, all that awful entrepreneurial language, which I don't resonate with at all. And like literally being on fire is like one of my worst fears. So I'm like, no, don't say that to me. So I kind of knew that there was something missing that I wanted to hear. And maybe I was craving company as well, because I think when I had my son, I felt really clear about certain things. I suddenly got my mojo back. You know, there's nothing like caring for a small one to make you move into action, as it were. But then it took me a while. It took me a while to do things. So I didn't launch till January 2018. And that was partly because of fear, because it was like, who am I to do, you know, all the general imposter syndrome. Who am I? How would I start? I can't do the technology. What would it even look like? What if it's a big pile of rubbish that nobody likes? All of that sort of stuff. So I suddenly knew that there was this gap, something that I was craving, where people told different sides of their experience, what their version of success was. And so I started, you were the first podcast interviewee ever. And I was like, there are people out there who are doing it, who are having fulfilling lives and they are making it work, but they're spending time with their families or their partner or on their own, or they're doing all different types of things. So basically it was like the nosy version of me going, surely there's something in this. And since then it's kind of gone into these different categories of people. So it's become digital experts, authors, creatives, content creators, wellness experts. Like I've spoken to so many people. I've done about 125 episodes, interview episodes, but over 300 total, because then this is the thing that might happen is I knew it was going to be safe to do interviews. I was like, I can interview people, I can have a chat with people, you know, this will be great. But what I didn't realize was the possibility of what I had to share as well, because I suddenly had that, oh, I can just interview people. What would I say anyway? So it took me a good 9 months since launching to actually go, I've got loads of tools, techniques, stories, things that I can contribute, but I didn't give myself permission because, again, I was in that imposter syndrome. So now it's this lovely mix of interviews, but then I do chats about money, I do chats about visibility, I share behind the scenes stuff. So I've worked with Stylist Magazine, for example, and I share the story of how that happened, because as a young girl growing up in a village, I was not well connected. I didn't have a rock star for a dad and a supermodel for a mum. Like, I had to find my own way. And I just figured, like, if I figured some stuff out, the least I can do is like send the lift down and help somebody else to open the door to do the next thing. So I'm really passionate about that, because so many people have helped me along the way. So in a nutshell, that's where we are. Yeah.
And that's one of the many things that I love about your podcast. And it's really interesting because when you were talking about it, I was thinking, yeah, and then you've got the episodes that you do as well, because I really love those. And I think it's so useful when you're branching out into that podcast experience, is that, yeah, it can start through like one light bulb moment. And often, like many things when we start our business, is out of something that we know we realize, or we cotton on, that isn't quite there, or it's something that, you know,
Yeah.
we could have done with when we were doing this to help us. And yeah, I love the episodes where you share that when you have worked on a goal and a big vision of yours, and how that's come to fruition, because it is really insightful hearing that side of things, of how you achieve that. And I think podcast form feels very, it's just conversational, isn't it, hearing someone's voice?
Yeah, and there have been some things which I've tried to create in a beautiful SEO blog post, like, but for some reason that feels more intimate, that feels much more revealing, and it feels like it's in print, I guess. And sometimes there are some things where I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want that kind of popping up on the internet. But there's something, if I can edit it and if I can say it as me, that works really well, because I can, as you mentioned, like, share the great goals, share when things happen and when things move in the right direction. But I also share when things are really tough, when things don't go to plan, or things are unexpected, or I am, I guess, moving out of a comfort zone. And I always talk about this thing, like, when people go, just move out your comfort zone, find your best self online, people imagine like you're going through this like mermaid moment, your hair is flowing. And usually it's that I look like those terrible pictures you get at Alton Towers, you know, when they take the picture when you're on the roller coaster and you're just like doing this terrible, like, I'm never smiling. I've got like, I haven't got puke on my face, but I may as well have. You know, that's my feeling of up leveling. I'm not in that, oh my goodness, I'm enjoying every minute. I'm like, this is tough. This is stretching me beyond belief.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's almost kind of like that visual thing of like opening, you know, like a butterfly from a chrysalis, and you kind of shed this skin and out walks like Elle Macpherson. But in reality, it's not quite that.
Exactly. And it's just, this is the thing about personal development and business development. And, you know, I know that you will talk a lot about this as well, is that they go hand in hand. People do this, like, just get this amazing system in place and it will all be glorious. But it has to come from that inner work of yourself as well, of going, oh my goodness, but what if people are going to hear me all over the world? You know, I was saying that in an interview the other day. I was like, people listen to this podcast, and like, I was in the top 10 top 100 careers podcast chart in Nigeria last week, and I'm like, that blows my mind. Like, I've been out with someone from Nigeria, not for a long time. Love you, Matty. He's not here. It's fine. But like, I was like, I've never been to Nigeria. Like, that's insane.
That's the reach, though, isn't it, of that medium and what it can create and what it can do. And also as well, what I love, and the title of Nikki's podcast, by the way, everyone, is Dreaming and Doing. And I love that, because it is talking about those, you know, that dreaming big, and that getting in touch with your vision and what you want to be doing, and turning those kind of dreams into the reality. But then that's when the doing comes in. And that's when I think it's really great when you talk in the episodes about, you know, actually going into that doing and the things that you have to do to get there. And it isn't always sunshine and rainbows. And sometimes you have to get real uncomfortable. Sometimes you have to really scrape away the yucky parts, even expose the yucky parts.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Get there.
Yeah, it's so many, it's a process. It's all just such a process. And I love that phrase in Bridget Jones of "come the F on, Bridget."
Yeah.
I've had to have those moments as well, where I've been faffing around and doing all sorts of things, and I've had to have that "come the F on," because what are you waiting for, really? And you know what? It's when you get further down the line, it's so lovely when people go, even though it wasn't perfect, or if it wasn't recorded in a studio, they go, I'm going to start my business. I'm going to do it. Like, I feel like I know what I'm doing now. Or I had this really powerful DM the other day where in one of my interviews, the woman who I was interviewing was talking about her divorce, and how that completely, as you can imagine, just shook her whole life up. And somebody messaged me and was like, I think I'm going to divorce my husband, because she's shown me what bravery looks like, and I can do this by myself. And so when people are, so it's those things. And I think as business owners, sometimes when you're starting out, you can go, well, this isn't perfect. This isn't the exact thing, or I haven't got this kind of thing. But if you can connect with that message and you can hold that space for people, that's the work that I'm interested in. That's work in terms of women actually dreaming and going for it, and not being like, you know, I had a real thing the other day, like I had my daughter a year ago, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm still feeding her a bit, and I'm not like wearing the right underwear, and should I do, like, I've just got in my head. And for the most part, most people are, I was saying this the other day, I was like, I make loads of sales in my business when I'm in my Jimmy Jams, and my daughter's trying to like scale the sofa. Like, people, if you speak truth, if you speak your truth, I guess, and from your heart, that's what resonates. And it's how you make people feel.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And in light of obviously the best phrase ever have come on, Bridget, actually getting started with it, how did you kind of make that you know, that leap, I guess, from having that light bulb moment about the podcast and what you kind of wanted it to look like, why you started it and everything? Like, how did you make that and go from the dreaming of that into the actually doing and getting it started?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing I was like, what is this? What is it? And sometimes to really go for that vision, it can be tough, because again, that voice can come in like, I don't really know what it is, so I'll just kind of like float around in it. So I always ask myself the flip question of like, what is this not? Okay, it's not hustle harder. It's not get up at 4 a.m. It's not, hi, I'm the expert and I've got it all figured out, guys. And, you know, you're so lucky to be part of this situation. So I made that list. I was like, I want to share different voices. I want diversity. I want inclusion. I want that sense that somebody can be cooking their dinner, have had an awful day, but still at the end of it still have hope for their business. So I did that kind of 360 of what's the feeling, what's the vibe, what is it, and what isn't it not. And then I mapped it out in terms of like, okay, who do I know that would be a safe bet that would kind of come on board? And then I realized, I was like, okay, I've probably got 5 to 10 episodes, right? So I sort of then made a schedule. So I guess the main thing that I did was I started to make it real. I was like, right, let's put this in the diary. Let's actually ask this person. Let's make the template. Let's make this as systematized as possible. Because this is the thing. Sometimes it can be tempting just to DM somebody and go, hi, I'm kind of thinking about maybe sort of doing this. But you have to have done the work first. So like when you asked me to do this, you were like, this is what it's going to be. Here's the calendar. Book in your time. This is what it's going to look like. So as a guest, I felt just so reassured, like, okay, because some people, even though they go on Instagram, like the thought of being on a podcast kind of terrifies them as well. So I just made it sort of like a very tick box type situation, so how we could move. The third thing I was going to say is I bought the music license for 1 million downloads. So there were 2 options. You could buy it for 10,000 downloads, or you could buy it for 1 million. And I was like, well, if this goes well, it might be that I get to 10,000 quite quickly. Let's go all in. And there was something about that shift of, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it really good, that suddenly made me move on it. So I think sometimes even, and you know, I could hear Matty like, 1 million downloads, you haven't even built it yet, you know, and that wasn't him being cruel. He was just having a casual chat about it, because, well, I mean, he knows me well enough that usually when I'm making moves on things, he's not like, oh, she's probably never going to do that. Like, I am going to do it, but you know, sometimes they don't all work out. So I guess that's what happens. And then I set a launch date. I put it in, I started talking about it, and I told people I'm starting a podcast. And I just had to, sometimes I had to get used to saying it just at home, like when I was making chicken curry at home.
Yeah.
I'm starting a podcast. Hi, I'm Nikki, I'm starting a podcast. Like, because people always think that they're going to say it when they actually need to do it. So people always go, well, I don't need to practice that. I'll say it in the interview, or I'll say it when I get the job, or I'll say it when I finally get permission from somebody, or I'm in the press. Or Candice Brathwaite was saying this the other day, that she put author into her bio way before she became an author, or she put writer or something like that, because it was just giving that signpost of I'm available for writing things. And I think it works the other way sometimes, where we're like, oh no, I've been doing a lot of work with this with one of my clients at the moment. I was like, you're a speaker, people are asking you, get your page up on your website. And she's like, but I was like, please do it, because it will just work for you, and then you don't have to get stuck in your email trails the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing, isn't it? That kind of ownership of it, when you're with that all the way action, but action not like just in the logistical admin action, but that like, yeah, let's put it in my bio, let's put the name out there, let's start saying it to myself. And then it just all helps, that whole shift of mindset, that this, again, like similar when you launch your business, I have a real thing, you know. It's an actual, you know, it's a thing.
What I want to flag up around this is all of that stuff of the actual doing stuff is the hard bit, and most people just want to do the dream bit, because that's the fun bit. Choosing what notebook you're going to have, taking pictures of your desk, building a vision board, faffing around in Canva. I've done all of those things, but when I get stuck in there, I'm like, what's going on? Come the F on. Like, there's something happening, because you have to, I always give this analogy that it's like a log flume. You can, you know, with log flume, sometimes you can go round and you're like, oh, there's the other bit of the park, and oh, hello, and you're kind of coasting along. You know, sooner or later you're going to have to go up that.
Oh yeah,
you know, when you feel it tipping.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, just get the tip over and done with. Just do it. Come on.
Do it.
That's the moment that we all want to do. We want to kind of coast around the park, but the quicker you can get to that top and that tip and whoosh into momentum, it's going to be great. Love it. Faffing around in Canva. I know, it's too fun. They've made it's too much of a good situation in there.
It is, absolutely. So with your podcast now, how many downloads and things are you on now? I know you said it's like 100 and, did you say 25 or 35 episodes now?
So there's over 300 total episodes with 125 interviews, but not all of them have been released yet. But I've recorded quite a batch. Oh, that's another good thing to say, is try and batch whatever you're doing. That's been really useful. And then, I've had over 100,000 downloads. So I've had way more than that. And bizarrely, I think I shared it the other day on Instagram, one of my stats, so I think I got 878 listens in a day on Monday. And in my first month, I didn't get that in the whole of the month. So
that's
now
amazing.
Of like, okay, this works, and it's growing and all the rest of it. So
that's really good. So my kind of last question before I ask if you've got like any tips that you want to share with people who are thinking about doing their own podcast is, what are your kind of plans for the podcast now? Like, where do you see it going now? Because obviously when you first launch, you have an idea, don't you? And then as it develops, it then springs into another thing, and then as you get into like another stage, it's another thing. So what's your kind of plan for it now?
I think it's going bigger and better, and like to wider, like it's sort of more of the same, but really leaning into the stuff that scares me and the stuff that people really want to hear. Because especially in lockdown, when people just go, you know, we've all heard them, haven't we? Where people go, oh my God, that's so amazing. That's really inspiring. That's like, oh God, I felt so fantastic. It's like, what are you saying? What are you talking about? Like, it's not, this conversation's not going anywhere. And so many of us, when we start our business, can just feel well, a start and continue to do like everybody else has got it figured out, all of these things. So I guess really leaning into much more of that. How can I be really useful for people? How can I really support people to do what they need to do? Because one thing that I've realized during the madness of 2020 is so many women have suddenly gone, maybe I'm not meant to do this. Maybe this is too hard. Or the homeschooling has taken over, or I'm not the one with the permanent job. So maybe I should just shelve all this. And my feeling is always to try and understand that situation, because there's been stuff, behind the scenes in my life. There's been stuff where I've really had to pause on my business, and I haven't been in that woo, let's go. It's about being consistent. But equally, I know when I need to call myself out of going, is this because it feels really tough? Is this because it's maybe not the right business? Or is it because you just need a bit of help somewhere along the way? Like you just don't know how to do the thing, so you're not making the moves that you need to do. So yeah, all of this stuff that's going on, I feel very passionate about the pay gap, about financial freedom, about life freedom. And so the more I can go into that, these are the things maybe that would be really useful, or it's the sort of, how can I help you move the needle? How can I help you shift and get into that exciting place? So rather than going, I've got 8 things that I feel less than passionate about on my to-do list today, how can you really move to the stuff that you want to do?
Yeah. Oh, that's a lot of what you said in that last bit really, really resonates with that whole question in the deeper meaning behind stuff. And is it this, or is it this, or is it actually this? That really does hit home.
and I must say, because there might be some people who are watching and going, all right, who is this woman? They might have just discovered me, and they'll be like, that feels a bit tough. You don't know my situation. And please know that all of those things that I've just said, I go through in my head all of the time. So I'm not coming from this place of come on, get out of bed, do this. It's hard. It's tough. It's stretching. My friend Lucy always says nobody gets to skip the work, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Oh, well, this has been a really good chat, Nikki. Thank you so much. The final kind of thing to end on is, have you got, and you've mentioned a couple of them anyway when we were talking about how you got started, but have you got any, just 3 tips that you could share with someone who's thinking about doing a podcast, who it's on their vision board, they want to make it happen, they want to do the doing? What are your tips?
I think that make it real is really important, because most people will just stay in that place of thinking about it for a long time. And it took me nearly 3 years to actually, put stuff in. So, thank you for joining. It took me a long time to do that, because I was feeling all the feels. But as soon as I started to put it on paper and look at it logically, and, do that thing of, even if nobody ever listens to that, then it's fine. My mum and her friend Pam listen. Pam's in her 70s. She loves the podcast. She's never started a business. She's not interested in doing it, but she's there all the way. Thank you, Pam.
Love a Pam. Love a Pam.
She's brilliant. The second thing that I would say is, and this is, the more of you that you can be, the better it's going to be. So have I frozen?
Oh yeah, it froze. Oh yeah, you're back. I think you're back. Yeah. So you said the more of you can be, the better. And then it froze. That was a cliffhanger.
I did that whole,
that's a duff.
I did that whole towers kind of moment. The second thing, I would say, is the more of you that you can be, the better. Because even though that's the more scary thing, because it's no, can't I just do this caricature thing that all the other coaches do, or what other people are trending or talking about right now? But I've realized, even though as a trained actor, I can fake it till I make it, I can do that. I can put on a smile and do all the rest of it. Actually, if I can lean into doing things in my way that feels good, in my voice, in my kind of turn of phrase or whatever. That's the stuff that will keep coming back again and again. And I guess the third thing is not to underestimate the power and the possibility that a podcast can bring. And there's been so many opportunities that, even though the opportunity has been nothing to do with podcasting, I've got the job because I show consistency. I've got a library to share, and that says something about you as a person. Like, oh right, she had an idea and she stuck at it and she went for it. So whatever that might look like, even if it's not starting a podcast for somebody, it could be like every Tuesday I share this thing. That's really useful for people from the outside looking in, and that really says something like, oh, this is the thing that she does and that she's known for. And also the power of how it has grown my business, because people are listening to me in a roundabout way promote and sell my business without me being in the room. And as a mum with small children, knowing that I don't have to go out around my local area with a sandwich board on my back saying, hello, this is how you can pay me, is really useful. That is a great currency for me in this climate. Yeah. So it's been great that I can create this content that not only do I own, but I can choose what to do with it. And it repeats itself. No, it kind of, yeah, times I'll get tagged in things and they'll be like, oh, I love this episode, or I've just discovered it. Or sometimes I'll get a shout out about something and they go, oh my goodness, there's loads of others. So all of my stats go up every single week. So I would say that whether you're thinking about starting a podcast or not, or any kind of form of content, see how you can repurpose it and reuse it, recycle it in a way that's going to work for you on a platform or in a format that you own. Because even though you could do a great series of Instagram stories, they're kind of gone in 24 hours unless you save them to a highlight. Love you, Instagram, if you're listening, by the way. So it's been something that's really worked for me, because that consistency and being able to make moves with it has just grown my business. And having a strong call to action has been really useful as well. And that sense of somebody being able to hear who you are.
Yeah.
You're all about what's going on. So the temptation sometimes is to just hide behind glossy images and perfection. In this day and age, people want to see you. They want to feel safe. They want to feel heard, no matter what you're selling.
Yeah.
And it's a really powerful thing, because certainly as women, it's really tough to ask for help sometimes. And I'm definitely going to the next level of my business, which is pushing me like, go on, make the leap, make the investment, do the thing. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. Don't make me do it. Because there is something in me that's like, I can do all the stuff. I have no problem in doing this. And yeah, I know that it's fear. It's fear. Yeah. It's fear.
Oh,
but
well,
yeah.
Anyway, they are powerhouse. They are powerhouse tips.
Thanks for just me.
No, it's good. So just to recap, there we've got so make it real. If you're thinking about launching a podcast, make it real. Say it out loud. Put the word up where people can see it. The more of you can be, the better. And also not underestimate the power that having a podcast can bring in terms of opportunity, in terms of showcasing your business, in terms of connection and everything around that. Yeah, thank you so much, Nikki. I mean, the last thing for me to ask you is share, please, with our lovely watchers, how they can connect with you, where they can find more of you, and where they can find this amazing podcast.
Oh, thank you. One final thing I was just going to say is, please don't let yourself, don't convince yourself you're not ready to be interviewed, because people need your voice, your flavor, your vibe. And sometimes you just have to get used to pitching, because that, as an expert going on to somebody else's podcast, it will grow your business in lots of different ways. So even though you might be like, well, I haven't done this and this yet, like, start conversations with people. The more that you can show up and become visible, the better. So yeah, you can find the podcast on iTunes. It's called Dreaming and Doing with Nikki Raby. There's all those episodes there. I also have a free masterclass where I share how I got to 100,000 downloads. So that's under my free gift section on my website. And I also have how to start a podcast, how to become a podcast expert on my website as well. So if you just look for the needing help with your podcast, you can do that. And it's it's an online course, but also when people go, what do you think of this pitch? I don't really know what to say. Do you think they'll like this? How can I start? All those sort of, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. So if I can shortcut the process, I absolutely will.
Oh, love that. Oh, thank you. That is brilliant. So yeah, if you're watching and you are thinking about launching a podcast, please do follow Nikki. Listen to her podcast for all the juicy stuff as well. She's got amazing guests, just fantastic episodes as well. Really real shares as well about her journey, like your journey, Nikki, and everything. But yeah, also check out her course as well for launching your own podcast, because there's no better person to have in your corner when you're launching a podcast than this lady. So please go over and give her a follow. And yeah, thank you so much, Nikki, for being part of this.
So welcome. Thank you so much.
It's frozen. He's gone. Oh,
hello.
Hello. Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Back. Yes. What was I going to say? Who knows? Thank you for having me. I've lost my trail of thought, but I've loved it, and I love making it. And even if you might tell yourself like, oh, all the spots have been taken in the podcasting world, they absolutely haven't. People need and craving more and more content all the time, and as I'm sure you are as well. So don't underestimate the amount of value that you have to share.
Oh, what a way to end. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And I will save this to IGTV, which I think it enables you to do now. So I can keep this juicy stuff. It does, yeah. All these new features in lockdown.
I know.
So yeah, if you have missed us live and you want to have a rewatch, it will be saved to IGTV. And yeah, please go and check out Nikki. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.